mentored Amanda since she was 6 years old. She's very talented and very intelligent, and she's such a joy to be around. So without further ado, Miss Amanda Mena.
I am so happy to be here with you guys today to make sure that every single vote is counted. It is so important for people to hear us. All of our votes must be counted. And that being said, I'd like to dedicate this next song to all of us and to all of us that are fighting for a better country and for freedom. So here we go.
To protect our democracy, to help ensure that every vote counts. We want to thank you for being out here today. Our primary focus is on, again, making sure that every vote counts. And to that end, I want to be clear. That's not a partisan issue. Okay? That's not partisan. That's American.
Donald Trump is scared. Donald Trump does not want every vote counted. Donald Trump has used his control of the post office to cast a cloud over this election. And what we are saying here on Boston Common, as our patriot forebear said, that we are going to stand and fight for democracy and fight for every vote to be counted in 2020 so that we have a democratically, constitutionally elected president of the United States. Every vote must count. Every vote must count. We are going to make sure that happens in 2020. Thank you for standing for democracy here on Boston Common. Thank you all.
To be solved. We are children that need to be loved. We were willing, we came when you called, but man, you fooled us, enough is enough. What about us to be
Count every vote. Count every vote. We will win this fight.
Are you ready? It's the start of us waking up. Come on. Are you ready? I'll be ready. No quieren control. Vamos suelta love. 'Cause now it's time to let them know. What about what about us? What about all the broken happy ever after? Sing it out, come on now. What about us? What about all the things that ended in disaster? What about love? What about trust? What about us? 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 Thank you guys so much.
Our faith has brought us to this point where we know we have much more work to do, but we also have to acknowledge that we have made some progress. And so we want to begin today by welcoming faith into this space, as we pay homage to, again, the historical nature of our work, of our movement, of our belief, of our hope in this nation, of what we can become, a more perfect union. And so I would like to ask Rabbi Mike Rothbaum from Congregation Beth Elohim and Reverend Darrell Hamilton from the First Baptist Church of Jamaica Plain to the bandstand.
I like you more than me. I'm a little upset. How you feeling out there? Come on, how you feeling out there? You feel good? You feel good? You know what? You look good. You know what you look like? You look like America. Go look at each other's faces. Look at the black and brown and yellow and white and Christian and Jewish and Muslim and Sikh and Hindu and atheist faces. Look around. Look at each other. Look around. Look around. Look at America. Look at America who wants to vote. Look at America who wants to be counted. You look good. We're in the book of Genesis in the Bible, in the Jewish tradition. A couple things happen really amazing. Number one is that God creates humanity. Not too bad. Looks like you. It says God creates humanity in the image of God. It says every human being is created in the image of God. Look around. Look at the image of God. Look at divinity. Look at holiness. Do you see?
Yes.
Do you see your holiness? Do you see your divinity? Do you? Amen. That's right. It was a revolutionary idea then. It's a revolutionary idea now. Every single human being counts. Every single human being is the image of God. And so when a domestic worker in Erie, Pennsylvania doesn't have her vote counted, that's a degradation of the image of God. When a new immigrant who lives in Kenosha, Wisconsin doesn't have his vote counted, that's a degradation of the image of God. When a worker in a union standing next to her sisters and brothers in Flint, Michigan, trying to work for clean water, doesn't have his vote counted, that's a degradation of the image of God. Will we stand for that? Will we stand for that? We will not. Every human being created in the image of God, every vote is a divine expression of the soul that God gave us. I want to tell you also about the creation of the Jewish people. I know most people here aren't Jewish. First Jewish guy named Abraham. Yeah, Abraham. Okay, let's hear it for Abraham and Sarah, First Hebrews. I want to tell you, Abraham had a good look at a place called Sodom. Now, people hear Sodom, they're like, oh, what's he going to talk about now? Well, that's a little scary. I want to tell you what the sin of Sodom was. It says in the book of Ezekiel, don't take Bible from strangers. You go look it up. The book of Ezekiel says, can I wrap it up? The book of Ezekiel says the sin of Sodom was having so much and not sharing it with the poor. And being hateful to immigrants. That's what a hateful society is. And the first Jew, Abraham, goes to God and argues with God and says, I want to make sure everybody counts. That's the good trouble that John Lewis talked about. I want to make sure everybody is, you got to make sure, hey God, if there's 50 righteous people, you got to save the city. God says, okay, I'm going to wrap up, I promise. Is there 40 righteous people? Abraham's got some chutzpah. He's got some nerve, some holy nerve. I got 40 people? God says, okay. You think Abraham would give up? No. What if there's 30 good people? You got to save the city, God. God says, okay. He keeps going. You know what he keeps doing? He keeps fighting for justice for every person. He goes 50. He goes 40. He goes 30. He keeps going because every single human being is created in God's image. He doesn't know anybody inside him. He knows that it's a principle. The image of God is before us. Look around. Are we going to count every vote? Yeah. Are we going to honor the image of God? Yeah. Are you going to stand up for it? Yeah. Are you going to stand up for it? Yeah. Please, God, give us the strength to have patience and resolve and keep going. Yeah. Are we saying that?
I want to pray in the name of justice. I want to pray in the name of righteousness. I want to pray in the name of all that is good in this world. Don't pay attention to what's going on down below right here. Don't pay attention to that. We are here to gather. We are here to make sure that every vote counts. We are here to lift up the humanity of all people made in the image and the likeness of God. And so everybody here today, we already done said that everybody here today represents America. Is that true? But you know what I see when I look out to the crowd today? You know what I see? I see the presence of God here in the Boston Common. That's what I see. I see the presence of God in the eyes of every single person made in the image and the likeness of God. And so for this, we want to give God thanks. So God, we just want to pray to you right now that you would continue to work for the sake of justice, for the sake of love, to make sure that you empower all of us with your spirit, to go out into the world and to be prophets, to go out into the world and to put our bodies on the line for the sake of democracy, for the sake of what is right. God, we pray in the name of that Negro from Nazareth. We pray in the name of the radical. We pray in the name of the revolutionary. We pray in the name of the renegade, that justice shall roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. For you said that in the last days, that you will pour out your spirit on all people, and that all people will be able to prophesy. So God, we go out with the power and the bravery and the courage to prophesy, to declare your righteousness, to declare your coming kingdom of justice. All these things I pray in the name of that Negro from Nazareth, named Jesus.
We come in peace to make change. We come in peace to make change. We come in peace to make change. Peace is an action word. We make peace. We make peace. It is a choice. We believe in the peaceful transition of power. We believe in the peaceful transition of power. We believe in the peaceful exercise of our constitutional rights. We come in peace, we make change. I want to ask Rebecca Riccio to come and share. She's our lead marshal to help set the tone for tonight. Rebecca.
Thank you so much, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Rebecca Riccio. I'm today's lead marshal, and I want to thank you for being part of our community of care today. I am part of a community of marshals who have spent a lot of time the last few years, and especially the last several months, at events like this, working in coordination with our Black and Brown and Indigenous and immigrant and youth leaders who are leading the battles of our time for racial and social justice and for our planet. And we work together with them to ensure that their voices can be centered and heard. So please join our community of care and make a commitment that we make that all of us are responsible for all of our safety and well-being.
What do we want them to do? Count every vote. You got it. Let's count every vote. Count every vote. Count every vote. Count every vote. Thank you. So we want to thank you for chanting, but the people that deserve a lot of our thanks are the elected officials, our poll workers, our poll monitors, for all their efforts. We are here to show support for them and to show support for them finishing their important work so that every vote gets counted across this nation. We are here also as a result of the Protect the Results coalition leaders from Indivisible National and Stand Up America, and their 110 partners that pulled together and have been working to unite this nation for the last year so we could have events like this, not just in Boston, but in this common, on this common, all throughout Massachusetts, out to the Berkshires, north to Concord, down to Falmouth, Hyannis, and cities all around the nation are having similar gatherings, making sure that their voices are heard. Today, we make our voices heard with all of them, and we're here united for one cause, to make sure that what? Every vote gets counted, exactly. The people have power through their voice and their votes. And we need every single vote counted. When we stand together and we unite our voices, we create more power to protect our democracy, our democratic electoral process, and ensure that all our votes are counted. What do we want? We want every vote counted. Let me hear your voices. What do we want? Count every vote. Let me hear it again. Count every vote. Count every vote. Count every vote. I don't hear you.
Count every vote. Count every vote. Count every vote. Count every vote.
Thank you. You're terrific. Thank you for being good voters. And let's make sure that our elected officials get the time and space to do their jobs and count every vote. Thank you.
Here and to see every single one of your faces, all of you coming out from your homes to stand up to make sure that what is right is done.
That's right.
Thank you guys, just from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for taking your time to come out here and to make sure that every single vote is counted. Together, we are one country, and although we might be have different opinions, this is what I love about being an artist, that by being able to perform a song, I feel like we all become one just for a moment. I see the kids in the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their needs? A summer's display, a broken victim's tale. This wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their needs? A sunburst disregard, a broken bottle top, in a one-man soul. We follow each other on the wind, you know, 'cause we got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know I'm starting with the man. to change his ways. And all the times I find myself for change. And in the bad times I fear myself. I'm off the deep end, watches are diving. I'll never meet the ground. Far from the surface where they can hurt us. We're far from the shallow now.
My name is Rasan Hall. I am the director of the Racial Justice Program for the ACLU of Massachusetts. For 100 years, the ACLU has fought in the courts and in the legislature and in and on behalf of communities to defend the civil rights and civil liberties of us all. The principles that undergird our democracy are not only freedom, justice, and liberty, but they are also due process and equal protection of the laws and political representation. These principles and our rights are preserved and maintained by the right to vote. Every nation, every state in this union has determined how and when and in what ways to collect and count every vote. Therefore, it is incumbent upon us to demand that we count every vote. But let us not be confused, because this right has not been equally granted to all. It wasn't until 1965 that black people had the right to vote in this country despite the ratification of the 15th Amendment. It wasn't until 1920 that white women had the right to vote. Therefore, we are not novices in this justice fight. But it is not lost on us that there are a significant number of black and indigenous and other people of color's votes who have yet to be counted in the very cities and counties that the current occupant of the White House would want the count to end. And therefore, we are resolute in our demand that we count every vote.
And my name is Cindy Rowe, and I am proud to be here today, representing the Jewish Alliance for Law and Social Actions, JALSA Impact, and all of our volunteers. My faith tradition tells me that people should be treated with dignity and respect. Being able to cast a vote and making sure that vote counts is how we define dignity and respect in our democracy. And that's why for over a year now, we have organized 1,250 volunteers who have contacted over 150,000 people across the country to make sure they were registered, that they could get their absentee ballots, that they could find their drop boxes, and that they knew how to cast their votes on election day. And after all that, millions of people overcame those obstacles. They overcame long lines and closed voting places and were purged from the ballot, from the list, and needed to find witnesses to sign their ballots in the middle of a pandemic. And they found a way to cast their votes. So we owe it to them, and we owe it to ourselves to make sure that in America, justice is not replaced by oppression, and equality is never forgotten. It is the moral thing to do. It is the just thing to do, and I am here today to tell you that these efforts will not be in vain. Now, every parent who has a kid who's been in the back seat of that car and said, "Are we there yet?" You know the answer is not, and you have to tell them to be patient. And that is our message today to the country. Just be patient. Until every vote is counted, we are not there yet.
We're not there until the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired," no longer apply to our lives.
are not there yet until the mission of James Chaney and Andrew Goodman and Michael Schwimmer, who went down to Mississippi to register voters during Freedom Summer, is accomplished.
Yeah! We're not there until the call of John Lewis to get into good trouble is no longer relevant.
And we aren't there until we realize the vision of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, who marched across the Pettus Bridge with Dr. Martin Luther King, is realized.
Yeah! And we're not there until the words of Ida B. Wells that virtue knows no color line and can be proclaimed.
So for the sake of our democracy, for the future of our country, we demand that every voice be respected. Every vote must be counted. Do you agree? Then let me hear you. Count every vote. Count every vote.
Count every vote. Count every vote. Count every vote. Count every vote. Count every
Don't stop.
Count every vote. Count every vote. Count every vote.
No justice?
No peace.
Black women have had to develop a larger vision of society than perhaps any other group. They've had to understand white men, white women, and black men, and they've had to understand themselves. When black women win victories, it is a boost for virtually every segment of society. Make some noise. So listen, in this process of protecting the vote, we gotta address a couple of things. Black people are dying in this country at the hands of law enforcement all across this country. So on top of trying to vote, on top of mobilizing and doing activism, on top of organizing, we also have to show up. And right now, voter suppression looks like black folks being targeted and killed at their houses and threatened to not show up. Voter suppression looks like black people getting death threats and harassment telling them not to vote. These are the things that are happening to black activists across this country. So when we talk about counting every vote, I want to centralize it because I wake up as a black woman and let you know that this year alone, the amount of death threats I received for doing simply what I woke up to do was to proclaim Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
I've had my life threatened. But I'm similar to Rasan with the Fannie Lou Hamer that if I fall, I'm going to fall 6 feet 2 inches in the face of justice in the right direction. Right? So on top of protecting the vote, let me just centralize it for y'all and then I'm going to leave. Voting looks like when you don't have adequate housing in the city of Boston.
Yes.
Voting looks like when you don't have adequate health care.
Yes.
Voting looks like homeless people. Voting looks like those who are addicted to drugs or methadone mile.
Yes.
Local elections matter.
Yes.
So I'm glad that orange dude brought us together. But it's your local politics that actually make change. So please, 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 show up for local politics. Find somebody black and ask if they need help. That's where we are. If you ever wonder what a civil rights movement looked like, welcome. You're here now. The question is what side will you land on? I'm on the side of justice. I don't need allies. I need accomplices. So in this process of protecting the vote, make sure that we keep showing up. Keep using our voice. Keep flooding. Keep making calls. I know a lot of people feel like activists don't do legislation. At the beginning of this year, with the help of Emerald Garner, we got the Eric Gardner chokehold bill passed and the Andrew Curse Act passed to prevent that from happening in our communities. The next thing is qualified immunity. Because see, there's an and also, right? There's activism, there's organizing, and then there's also fighting for legislation. There's not an either or. We're at an and also moment. We have to do it all. So what I need is you guys to continuously show up, but also show up to communities of color. Because we could use the support.
Don't just show up today, go home, eat your cheese sandwich, and check off the box that you went to the rally. Don't do that. Keep showing up, but make your way to Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, and Hyde Park in that process. No justice?
No peace!
No justice?
No peace!
Count every vote, guys.
Every vote. We also know that before election and after election, there's a housing crisis. Housing stability, housing affordability continue to be the #1 issue in Massachusetts and all over the country. So we need you to stand with us to make sure that every vote is counted and to continue to fight for housing justice and homes for all. We need to fight against evictions. We need to fight against commodification of land that displays our community. And while we're waiting for votes to be counted, there's a lot of work to be done in Massachusetts. We need to make sure that a state legislature will stand up to protect the community, to keep our residents in their homes and safe, and for some people to have a home to go to. So while we're waiting for the result, please call your state legislatures to make sure they pass the Guaranteed Housing Stability Act. Make sure that we attend an option to purchase. Make sure that there's funding for affordable housing. So I encourage everyone to check out homesforallmass.org. There's plenty that you can do while we wait for the result. So let's channel anxiety into action. So please check out homesforall.org and call your legislature. When I say homes, you say for all. Homes! For all! Homes! For all! Homes! For all! Homes! For all! Thank you.
My name is Simon Metcalf, and I'm a member of the Sunrise Movement. So first, I just want to make a quick pitch. This coming Saturday at 11 a.m., Sunrise is holding an action downtown. So you can follow Sunrise Boston on Instagram for more information about that. But, for those of you who don't know, Sunrise is a movement of young people to stop climate change and create millions of good jobs in the process. We are fighting for a better future for this country and the world. But to do that, we need a strong democratic process where every vote counts. We are standing today on a cliff's edge, looking down at a perilous drop into fascism. If we fall, we will lose democracy. We will lose this chance to address racial and economic justice, and we will lose our final chance to mount a response to climate change. If we fall, my peers and those younger than us will be the last generations. We are here today to prevent that from happening, and I believe that we can. But it is not enough to simply not fall off the edge. If we win this fight, we will still be teetering on the precipice of disaster. Trump did not take us from a healthy, equitable democracy to the brink of authoritarianism. Trump is not clever or organized enough to pull that off. We must take the energy of this moment and use it to correct this administration's injustices, but also to correct the injustices that predate this administration. We must improve healthcare and housing and implement a Green New Deal. Otherwise, we will be just as vulnerable to the next Trump, who will be younger, who will be smarter, who will know how to hold his tongue. I want you to think about how you're feeling right now in this moment. Think about how clearly you understand the danger we face. Think about how clearly you understand the need for action. I want you to let these feelings be burned into your memory. We must hold on to this moment so that in the future, when the going gets muddy and the fights are hard, we can remember how important it is to keep pushing so that we can get to a place where a person like Trump will never have power over us again. But first, we need to send this clown packing. We will count every vote, and once they are counted, Trump will crawl away to the most undignified pages of our history books, where they will write that he tried to cheat the American people and he failed. So why are we here? Count every vote! Count every vote! Count every vote! Thank you.
How's everybody doing, all right? Woo! Yes. So my name is Roxanne Rivera, and I'm the Vice President of 32 BJSEAU. We're a union of mostly black, brown, and immigrant communities that work as essential cleaners, security officers, and airport workers. Up and down the East Coast, including 20,000 strong here in Massachusetts. I'm proud to be with you all today because we're standing up for the basic principles against all the odds. Voters did the job of turning out for this election. They turned out in the midst of the pandemic that has killed over 200,000 loved ones and put so many of us out of work. They turned out in spite of the deliberate attempts to make it harder for black, brown, and immigrant communities to vote. Every single one of those voters matters. The essential workers of 32BJ voted up and down the East Coast for good union jobs and health care for all and an end to the needless deaths from COVID-19, to protect frontline workers with PPE and paid sick time. These essential workers keep Massachusetts clean, safe, and healthy. And now we are standing up for the will of the people. We are here to say, count every vote. Count every vote. Contar cada voto. Contar cada voto. Thank you.
Be heard. We are here today to express the importance of a safe and equitable democracy. Elena, as you can see to my left, is the embodiment of this. She is an essential worker and an essential voter. Her life matters, as does her vote. While the range and significance of each vote is diverse, one constant remains. Every vote counts. Yesterday, I voted for the first time since becoming a U.S. citizen back in February. I voted can be no democratic society. Without the constant accountability of government officials to the electorate, there can be no assurance of any other rights. The right to vote is not only important to our individual liberty, it is also a pillar of free government. In the words of artist and cultural worker Paola de la Calle, our collective resistance is our strength. It ain't over until every vote is counted. ¿Qué queremos? ¿Cuándo la queremos? ¿Qué queremos? ¿Cuándo la queremos? ¿Qué queremos? ¿Cuándo la queremos?
I am so nervous, but at the same time, I feel that we're ready to keep fighting. So just make sure that every vote gets counted today.
We know immigrant rights are human rights, and we all need to be together, and we have to make sure the sacrifice that we have done, it gets to the results, and make sure every vote is counted to save people's life. Let's fight together to make sure every vote is counted as if our life depends on it. Because for some of us, that is true. Let's do it. Thank you very much.
The right thing to do. But God, even if all of the votes are counted, the reality is we also recognize that we are a deeply divided nation. We are divided in a dangerous way because you teach us that a house divided against itself cannot stand. So God, I ask that you would help us not just in this moment to get the election right now, but God, we ask for your guidance as we try to understand what it will take to bring this nation together. What are the conversations and the challenges that we have got to do so that we do not end up in a nation that doesn't even see the same reality? This is the hard work we are called to do. Quite frankly, I don't believe any candidate can do that work for us. This is the work of the people. This is the work of knocking on the door of our neighbors and listening to each other and trying to find common solutions even in places where we don't readily agree. This is the work of New England, of Massachusetts and New Hampshire being in conversation, of Maine and Connecticut getting on the same page. This is the work you are calling us to do in this moment, to move beyond a place of deep partisanship and figure out how we become a country that doesn't agree on everything, but is not willing to go to blows with each other. So we ask for your guidance. First, that we will stand for all of the votes to be counted, but then that we do the deeper work of transforming and revolutionizing our democracy into one that truly values all people and all opinions. God, we ask this in whatever name by which we know you.
Frustrated out of my mind, nothing seems to work. You don't understand what it's like to live in a world. Faces are turning, and somehow I gain so many enemies. Yeah, and I wish for once in my life that I could become somebody else. And lived good times and bad times, yeah. I've gotten through them all before it falls down. And I guess the girl is me that lives out a fantasy with all the fiction in her dreams. Yeah, yeah. And I wish for once in my life that I could become somebody else. And I wish for once in my life that I could become somebody else. Oh, 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 oh. I wished, but it didn't come true. Oh, I wished, but it didn't come I wish, no, 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 no. I wish, no. I wished for once in my life. I wished. Thank you guys so much. That was my original nonfiction. If you would like to check it out, it is available on all platforms. Thank you.
We come in peace and we are seeking justice. Good night.